to link to the
Yeah.
sharpeners?
No. The link to our
Oh, okay,
the link to the show.
okay.
Um, I don't know. I don't know if people
Oh,
watch it.
by the way, we're live.
Oh, we're live. Okay,
We are
cool.
talking uh, to others. Oh, I'll probably get the sound from my YouTube channel. Just
Oh yeah,
there it is.
yeah. It came.
So
Sorry.
no, it's all right. Well, I started my morning with what did I start my morning? I changed a lock on a door. What do you call that? A deadbolt.
Oh yeah. What? Now,
Yeah,
why'd you change it?
because I broke it the other day, and
Oh yeah.
so I just ordered one real quick, and in a matter of a couple of days, I had a new deadbolt. What else did I do? I did laundry. I did not go for my walk today,
Oh, you didn't?
which I'm really missing. I may even get out about 9 o'clock or something and get the walk in.
Uh, the Well, tomorrow, like I told you, I'm off work. I got to get my oil changed in the morning, but I'm thinking about going to the 45th Infantry Museum afterwards. I don't know if you have any interest in something like that.
Oh no, probably not.
Okay, fair enough.
It's kind of hot to be getting out for much of anything.
Well, that's
I've got a big my big agenda item tomorrow is getting out to the grocery store.
it's funny. I was talking to my mom earlier this evening when I was eating supper,
Yeah.
and I mentioned that we're going to do our live thing tonight, and she was asking me, "Oh, how's Ellis doing?" And I said, "Ellis is trucking along just like normal." I said, "I don't think this has affected him one bit." She goes, "Well, does he go to the grocery store?" I go, "Yeah." And I said, "I'm not sure when he goes." So you just answered my question. You go whenever you need stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I go. Wonder what I
We
just did. Go ahead.
we go every Saturday. Of course, we get our groceries and we get my cousin's groceries because she doesn't drive, and so we have to get her groceries, or else she ain't eating. I guess she would find a way. I think, but if you don't have a if you don't she does not drive, so she doesn't have a car, but she doesn't drive. And if you live in a place without good public transit and you don't drive, you're dependent on people.
Oh yeah.
It's not good. But
Well, it would be nice if she took a turn to where she wasn't, what amounted to basically a burden. I wish she would figure
oh
things out.
well, no. In fact, we didn't go get her groceries last week because she said no, you guys have done enough. The thing with her, for anybody listening, just in case because they obviously really care about my cousin.
Yeah.
My cousin was not in my life since she was a kid because her parents got a divorce. Her father was my uncle, or is my uncle, and so she lived with her mom, and she's had a pretty rough life. Um, and she was actually homeless for a while, and she has COPD. She's on disability because she has seizures, so she has to take seizure medicine. And so she's living on disability, and it's just there's just not a lot of money there. I mean, people go, oh,
Well, no, I mean, I don't know. Now that I've got this smugness about a monthly check, I've forgotten how much I lived as a constant bit of anxiety in life about where's the money coming from. Supposedly now I know where the money's coming from, but
yeah.
that could all change with enough downturns. There'd be a lot of old people saying, "Oh my God,
Well,
somebody help me."
and I don't want to turn this into political talk, but I mean, one of the things they talked about doing to relieve people from the pandemic is Trump, and I don't know if he's done it or what, has said, we'll stop payroll tax. People don't realize how bad payroll tax is because typically your employer pays it. But like if you're a freelance artist, like working for Marvel or something, man, it's
Hmm.
like it's like 30 or 40% of your salary that you have to pay, and it's the part of taxes that your employer would normally pay, but they don't pay if you work freelance. And so he's talking about, and I believe what he's talking about is getting rid of those taxes. Well, a lot of that goes for Social Security. So of course people are like, oh my gosh, he's interfering with Social Security. You know, that's really, the system is supposed to be, you put your money in and it sets. It's not, they don't use it supposedly immediately, but everyone knows our government runs at such a deficit that every dime they get is spent and then some. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
so I mean, you know, but I mean, you're going to get he. I don't buy that he's interfering with it or whatever. It's just that, you know, he could cure cancer and they would
Oh no, no,
complain.
that's just another thing in the quiver of the Democrats. Every
Yeah.
Cycle is to say that
Oh my gosh,
the
he's guys.
Social Security is being threatened. Yep.
Yep. That's anyway. And again, I don't want to get into political talk, but that's just funny because man, if you didn't pay that, and I've heard political pundits say that they should, one thing they should do, not they, but one of the things they say is if the government came in and made the employee pay that instead of the employer, you would realize how much
Yeah.
because people don't realize how high that is because it's invisible to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I think, well, and again, I mean, I'm speaking as someone who does not live hand to mouth by any means. See, I'm of the opinion that you shouldn't get any taxes taken out of your paycheck, and just write a check at which I mean most people can't do. I get that, but if they did that, they would see how much of their money goes to taxes, and some of the crap that they get spent on, they would be a little more.
Yeah, everybody that changes their lifestyle to the idea of writing that one check,
Yeah.
you can almost guarantee it turns you into a conservative to have to write that check. Yeah.
Well, Michelle and I pay quarterly taxes. You want to talk about getting the getting the shaft?
Yeah.
You know, and what's bad is if you do quarterly taxes, you almost can't do them yourself. You have to pay. So I mean, I'm paying an accountant like, I don't know, $150, $200 an hour to do my taxes. You know, but it's better than going to jail.
Yeah.
I was telling a story on the comics experience because they were talking about classes that would be good for creators, for comic creators. And one of the things they were talking about was this idea of it was just, they were talking about money stuff, you know. And my thing was, one of the things I said was, hey, you should have something about income tax at a convention, because you know that bit me one time. I got sideways with Missouri, and I went to a con in Missouri. Actually, I went 2 years. I went to a con in Missouri, and I paid my income tax. I applied for my license, and I paid my income tax like you were supposed to. And a lot of people there did not. A lot of the other vendors, I did it because I was kind of told, hey, you need to pay everything that you owe. Well, one of my accountants told me you should pay everything you owe and then take every deduction you can, you know, which I think is good advice. But
sounds like the way to go. You know, I've got no interest of ever making another nickel at a con again because they are so adamant about tax stuff. To me, that was the fun about slipping off to a con and making a little extra money, was that idea of it being usually such a piddly amount, if not an outright loss. Nobody was paying attention to the money that was changing hands.
Well, what happened to me was I went to a con and I made like nothing, and I think I made like under $100, whatever.
Yeah.
And
that's the kind of money we're talking about for most people.
Well, for a couple of years I was making over $1,000,
mm-hmm.
and for whatever reason, that last con, I was like, and it's like, this isn't worth it. So I
Yeah.
filed for my whatever it was,
Yeah.
piddling amount of taxes on that, and the and, the state of Missouri. Okay, so say the convention was in March every year. So in April, I get this letter saying, "Hey, you need to file your April income sales tax." And I go, so I said, "Well, I didn't have any sales. What do I need to do?" And I told them, this is a convention. I come here once a year. And they said, "Oh, okay. Well, then you need to file. Send this thing back." I mean, I called them. You waited on the line and talked to somebody, and that's what they told me to do. You got to fill this out, and in it put, it was some kind of deal I had to fill out that said it wasn't monthly, basically, that it was an annual thing. Well, then I get a deal saying, "Hey, we didn't receive your thing, and if we don't receive something from you for April, then you're going to owe us the average amount, and the average is $7,000, not $7,000 profit, $7,000 tax bill." So I called and said, "Hey, what's the deal? This is, well, you need to fill it out with a 0. And I said, "Am I going to do this every month?" No. Well, so I filled it out as 0. Then next thing I knew, I'm getting a bill for like $7,000. And I'm told if I don't pay it, that the next month I'll owe another 7. They were billing me $7,000 a month until
Lordy.
I paid that. Oh, jeez. Yeah, I know. It's like, I've done pretty good a couple of years, but I don't know that I ever even totally made $7,000, much less had $7,000 worth of taxes. Jeez. But so I ended up finally getting hold of somebody that took care of it. In fact, what happened is, they were billing me for months that I wasn't even in Missouri. I was like, well, in fact, that's what happened. Was the next year I didn't go to the con, and they wanted to know where my thing was, and I said I didn't go to the convention this year. In fact, I haven't set foot in Missouri for over a year at this point. And then the whole thing started, and they backdated it to like the one I sent in like a year ago or something. I mean, it was getting crazy. I literally thought
that's the sort of thing where they're that made it simple for them and made it just a huge headache for a citizen. So that was the way a bureaucrat says, "Well, what do I care?" And
I don't care. I fire off that form letter
and just dumped a huge thing that you had to absolutely scramble to make sure that it wasn't hitting you, and might have been your lifeline of money, and all sorts of trouble that caused you.
I got registered letters and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Eventually,
General Grudge checked in. He says hello.
Yeah, and Fly Fox Pro I saw also.
Oh, I didn't see him.
I saw it on the iPad. Ultimately, I gave up my tax ID to Missouri. I said, they said, "Well, what would you like to do?" And I said, "What I'd like to do? I'd like to completely get it out of your system."
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I had cleared it. I thought it was cleared, and they still hit me with, and I was like, I don't want to deal with this. And at that point, I was like, I'm not going to any cons and making money for myself. If I did a con, I would strictly go to sign books, and I would probably do free sketches. I don't know that I'd want to even make money. I don't know it'd be worth it, unless I just got to the point where I was really. And what's funny is, I guarantee you, some of these guys that go to these big conventions and do like big commissions, I guarantee you those guys ain't paying taxes on that stuff.
Well, exactly. They've figured out, little angles and stuff like that. That power to them, as far as I'm concerned. It's like.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's true. I mean, the bad thing is, I did, and people were like, "Why are you doing that?" People at the con, other artists, why would you get a tax license? If you don't get one, they'll never know. And I was like, yeah, but.
So by trying to be the good guy, the good citizen, you hurt yourself.
I don't want to be dishonest, but it is kind of screwy because you go to a convention in a different state and you pay, hotel, you pay the table, you pay everything. And if you break even, you're fortunate on a lot of that
Yeah.
stuff, I mean, you
Oh
might
yeah.
make a little bit of money unless you're a big name, but for the most part, it's just trying to get your books out there and stuff, or get your name out there or whatever. And
Or yeah. Do some networking to where
yeah,
you
the networking, yeah, exactly. But then you go, well, I've got a couple $100 in the hotel, like a couple $100 in gas getting up here, and the table cost me a couple $100. It's like, well, okay, I got 400 in it, and I made 450, and I got to pay taxes on 450. Oh, and the other thing was this is what burns me about Kansas City. That big convention in Kansas City, Planet Comic Con, which is a pretty fun convention. It's a decent sized convention. It's not so big that it's unmanageable, but it's decent. They moved to the convention center downtown, and they kind of became one of these get your picture with Leonard Nimoy kind of things,
right.
and and the convention center downtown. The state of Missouri, when they went downtown, they were in Kansas before. When they moved to downtown Kansas City, they were actually in Missouri. And that Missouri downtown area where they had the convention center has a special income tax of its own that's like 8% or something crazy. And it's like, okay, it's very obvious they put it on there just to screw people, you know.
Yeah.
That's what irks you about the whole thing. You're like, I'm coming, I'm doing business in your town, I'm spending money, I'm making a little bit of money, but then you try and screw me on the deal. I mean, I don't mind paying taxes. I don't mind paying income taxes, and I pay a lot.
Oh,
Trust
I
me,
mind it. I
but
mind it.
well,
General Grudge minds it too. It is dishonest. It isn't dishonest to keep your own money. The government has no right
well,
to it just because they
well,
threaten force.
well, yeah. I mean,
No,
the
I know we all. That's a quick road to get in trouble. To feel like you should find every way in your power to keep your money, that will put you on their radar, and they will come
that's how
after you.
that's how they got Capone. Never forget
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I mean, you can say what you want, but that's how they got Capone.
We had a
You
guy
know.
that
Oh, go ahead.
everybody really loved. This guy, he had personality plus. He was one of those kind of guys that worked with my worked with my dad a long time, and my brother was working at the same company. And man, he was an anti-tax guy. And
Oh yeah.
so he was
Cool.
telling everybody this technique and that came
Oh,
from one of these personalities that sold you how to do it and everything like that.
yeah.
And so he was doing it and wanted everybody else to do it. And Russell was the only one that did it. And he ended up in all kinds of trouble because this guy forgot the little detail that what you do is you don't give them taxes. You don't pay that tax all year from your check, and you bank it. But then whatever little marginal amount you made from investing that money instead of letting them have it, he was doing it with massive deductions.
Yeah.
He still ended up paying his taxes because he said, okay, now I don't want to get in trouble. And then he would take
Uh,
the money from whatever account was supposedly making money while he was, not paying it. And then he would go ahead and pay the IRS. Well, he forgot to tell Russell that. And so
no, so
Russell,
Russell did.
I think Russell was probably still in hock for that debt from 20 years ago. But I tell you what, that just shows you that they don't come after people that ultimately are already ruined, because Russell never recovered from a lot of different things, and and they never came after him to attach anything or take him to jail or anything like that. You know.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think you. Yeah.
So
Oh
a lot
yeah.
of that
If
they
you
only
have
come after.
assets, they
Yeah, they only come
only
after
come.
people that have got something. Yeah,
Yeah. If you don't have any assets, then you're probably okay. But in
yeah,
that case, you're probably not paying much taxes either. I mean,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. That was
Uh,
Russell's deal.
that reminds me. I almost emailed you something. I guess it was, and I may have mentioned this in an email. Michelle, we're working at home now, and I'm working on my computer, my desktop, and Michelle is working on her work computer that she brought home, and it's on her desk. So we're in the same office, and if she needs to print, she has to print PDFs occasionally of different things for her job, and so she will email me the PDF, and then I'll print it. Right? She emailed
Hmm.
me the one the other day that I almost forwarded to you just because it was some specs from Otis Elevator.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, I thought
she would have to.
I said I need to send this to Ellis. For anybody listening, Ellis used to be an elevator mechanic, or were you a mechanic? What were you?
I just worked construction on them. Then I was a helper, running
Oh,
around with the
gotcha.
mechanics to go ahead and watch over their shoulder while they fix stuff. Hey,
Oh, gotcha.
Flyfox Pro says my wife and I have a small business that we run all our non W-2 money through, which
Oh,
is you know, that's
yeah,
one way to
yeah.
do
I
it.
mean, I was doing that for. You have to watch that because I was doing that with my comic stuff. Because one year making comics, I made quite a pile of money, and so I had to pay that tax. But then you have to watch that. Well, because the problem is if you file whatever that is, if you don't make a profit, you might be a target. I'll put it that way. My accountant has told me you got so much amount of time to make a profit, and then it becomes a hobby. So
Oh,
like my
really? Really?
comic,
They will
yeah,
just turn you into a hobby without you.
right.
It's almost like an insult to
Well,
you. This isn't a
yeah.
business. This is a hobby.
Well, but you
That's
can't see.
funny.
Then you can't deduct stuff. I mean, it's
Yeah, yeah,
I have my comics. I think I've converted them to hobby status. My comic stuff, but I mean, I'm not making any money right now, so there's no reason for it to not be. But I'm not really spending that much money either. So I mean, paper's cheap. I had a I had a funny thing. I posted. I this morning I did a drawing of Cyclops, the X-Men, or
yeah.
X-Men. Anyway, from the X-Men, who's one of my favorite comic characters. And I just did a little doodle of him, and it was in one of those Fabriano sketchbooks. And the paper's smooth, but it's got a little bit of a tooth to it, kind of. I mean, it's got
Yeah.
a weave in it. So I posted it on. I just posted it on Instagram. Well, Instagram, the way I got it set up, my Instagram, it posted it in Tumblr. And man, there's somebody in Tumblr that they follow me and they comment on everything. And holy cow, they're always raking me over the coals about stuff. It's like, dude, man. They were like, comics must be drawn on smooth paper. You're using watercolor paper. And I want to
Yeah.
go, well, it's not a comic. It's a
It's a
drawing.
sketch. Yeah.
It's a sketch. First off, it's not watercolor paper. You don't want a watercolor on that paper. It's too thin. But I'm, me. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I was
It's
trying to
got some.
respond. Thanks for the
Mhm.
advice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then, like my grandma or my wife's grandmother used to say, "Well, bless their heart," you know.
Yeah. Exactly.
But anyway, I thought, and they were rating really cool about something a few days ago. It's just but I didn't know it because I messed around my phone. I turned off Tumblr It's always on Tumblr. Turned off
Yeah.
my Tumblr notifications. You know.
Yeah. Uh, Have you ever heard of the FBI story with Jimmy Stewart? Have you ever seen that movie?
Mm-mm. Nope. I believe so.
You don't. You don't believe so? Okay. Well, it's the movie that the includes the killings of the killers of the Flower Moon, and so I
Oh,
got
okay.
I got that movie from the library. I'm going to probably watch it tonight.
Oh, yeah.
It's been an age since I've seen it, but it's 2.5 hours. Good.
Uh-oh.
I didn't know they made movies that long back then. Thought they
Yeah, I
had
was going to say Jimmy
more
Stewart was.
sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think a Giant's long, but other than that,
Yeah.
I've gotten to where I don't like long movies. I don't like previews, man. We were watching a movie the other night, and there was so many previews on there, and you
I
can't
can't
fast
get to
forward
where.
through them.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
what?
They want you. I've gotten to where I can't pick a movie to watch and have the attention span to watch it. I was scrolling through everything last night trying to find and I'll start to watch something. I'll say, nah, I can't do this. And there was a movie that's been getting all kinds of raves on called Host, about a bunch of people on a Zoom phone call. That all of a
Oh
sudden
gosh.
it becomes uncanny in some way. And so I thought, heck, I better check that out. I bet that sounds smart. It sounds smart and low budget. But then I saw it and I said, you know what? I'm not going to be able to hang with this. This isn't a nicely crafted bit of entertainment, but it more than likely is. It's only an hour long, and supposedly people are saying it's effective. So I need to go back to it. But that's what I'm talking about. I bounce off of things. I can't say, yeah, I can't do this.
I start a lot of movies I don't finish.
Yeah.
So are you watching the comments? Fly Fox Pro has said his wife apparently is a musician, and she does pretty good with cash. Being the musician, she makes a pretty good amount of money. Apparently, makes quite a bit. That was an exact phrase.
Is that like being a programmer? When you're a musician, you can play almost anything because you understand music, or is you got one instrument you can? Because I would imagine it's specific, don't you? I mean, if you can play
I would
guitar,
think so.
you can't play piano.
What does she play? What does she play? Fly Fox Pro. What instrument? And General Grudge said, "I'm the same way with movies and TV shows. I can't sit and watch any of them. I feel like I would always rather be doing something else." I fall into that, or what I do is I get on the Amazon thing, and I'll look for a movie, and I'll look for a movie, and and I'll spend as much time looking for a movie as I would watching a movie. Seems like,
Yeah.
it's there's too many choices. I want to watch. You know what I want to watch? I want to watch again. I saw it in the theater, and I own the Blu-ray. I want to watch Valerian. The
Because you're
space
really
movie.
into those comic books that came out on it. Yeah.
Well, I bought that first issue. I got this. It's right here. I got this the other day.
Oh yeah.
It's a hardcover. It's pretty nice.
Who's the artist on that?
I don't know if it's Kristen or Marie's. I think it's Meseries.
Mm-hmm.
They're in chronological order, and this is volume 1. So the art gets better as it goes along. This is a little loose. I've got a couple of the later volumes, not in hardcover, but the original. So these have like 3 of them in it. I think there are 7 of these volumes, but I bought this. Its list is 30, but I got it online for 2/3 of that. And I saw a review of that movie, and it made me want to buy those. I'd had it on my want list for a long time. It was never cheap before. It was $30, and you get it for 27. And so when I looked, they dropped the price, probably because the movie tanked. That's why I picked it up. Valerian is underrated. If you take the added Rihanna part out, the movie's near perfect. I would. Let me watch it again before I say I agree with that. I didn't care for the Rihanna. I don't know much about Rihanna.
Yeah, I don't know much about her
Do
either,
what,
so
Ellis?
it didn't really distract me. The part that I think distracted everybody that Barry, I think, is the main example of being bugged by it is casting. Those young, fresh-faced people weren't most
Yeah.
people's idea of someone that they wanted their action adventure to take place with. You know.
Yeah. No, he had kind of the male lead reminded me of kind of Keanu Reeves, but not as
not as tough.
not as tough and without a personality. But he had kind of a dopey,
That's funny that Keanu has transcended that. That's what everybody used to say about Keanu Reeves was that he had no personality.
He's 100%. Oh yeah, now he's got a definitely has a personality. But
well, they always knocked his acting like, wow, maybe he'll come up with a new way to say things. That sort of rap on your acting.
Yeah. Well, and what's funny is he gets stereotyped from the Bill and Ted thing, and he's going back to that.
Yeah. Which is fun. Yeah, I guess that's going to become one of those. Hopefully, they'll have another successful. Because I'm all for them saying, let's skip going out to movies. Let's just go ahead and offer it to you if you want to buy it. However, $30 is not something I'm not going to spring at. But if you're a social person, you say, hey, you bring 5 people over to your house, $30 is quite reasonable.
If Barry called us up and said, hey, do you guys want to come over and
split the cost?
We'll split Bill and Ted and we'll watch it. Our friend Barry has a projector TV, and it's probably the equivalent of a small movie theater at his house. He's got a really big screen. And
Natasha. Go ahead.
Oh well, I was
Natasha International says
it's great.
Oh yeah, I mean it's big, it's huge. Natasha International Evening. John Carter is also an underrated film, and Fly Fox Pro liked John Carter a lot. Now that movie is one of those things where when you think about Andrew Stanton was like the boy, the total boy genius. He was.
Yeah, the Pixar guy.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Brad Bird. He was kind of the same kind of thing, and he's kind of. And I don't know that in live action he's ever lived up to that.
Oh, I think he did with his Mission Impossible movie.
Well, I was going to say he did make a Mission Impossible, or did he make more than one?
Yeah, one. I think
that's the only one I own is that one. Yeah, I thought John Carter was pretty good. It was paced weird though. It was one of those. Again, I think it's me. I don't have as much patience as I used to for some of this stuff. If it doesn't grab me,
Yeah.
My problem is a lot of times when I'm watching a movie, I'm also like drawing in my sketchbook or, and so it's easy to get distracted. I have to really make myself watch it.
Yeah, it's one of those. I forget what I was going to say, but the only thing I always think about every time I almost resent John Carter. I was entertained enough. They got a little deep in the weeds, I think, on world building. That if you weren't into what they were up to on their world building about Mars, that felt like one of the sins of filmmaking is to have too much exposition. And the other thing was that I can't get over is that it was coming from a company that did the world's most flawless kind of movies, which is their little CGI masterpieces. Everything they touched was some sort of level of masterpiece. And here they decide, let's make this our first big live action movie. It's like, no, John Carter was made to do with what you do so well. And nope, they because the leaps of faith you have to do with live action for all the all the fantasy elements, you would have just been right on board from moment one if they were cartoony 3D stuff.
Oh yeah, I think it would have sold. It would have been much better as an animated movie.
It'd be one of the biggest franchises they've ever done. It was even slightly like The Incredibles.
Yeah.
So we're talking about Solomon Kane now. Have you seen that?
I have that, and I don't know if I've watched the whole thing. Is it good? I love that character. When I was a kid, I bought the book of those stories, the Robert E. Howard stories, and I just love it because he's just a guy that's just so haunted by his past, and he's like Hellboy, he fights all these demons and stuff. He's pretty cool. They a few years ago they released a book. Oh, hang on just a second. I'm gonna go grab a book.
Okay.
Hang on, it's right here. I can see it. Hang on. Give me 2 seconds.
All right. Scott's going to grab one of his mini books. He's got about as many books as I used to have that I left behind in Culver City, California. I didn't know how good I had my bald head cropped there by that painting. I'm having a bad time with Procreate. Here, let's try some oil paint.
So a few years ago, they did this. They released. I think Bandom did these, or Ballantine did these. They did Conan and they did Solomon Kane, and this is everything Solomon Kane in there, and it's illustrated by I think it's Gary Gianni, I believe. I could be mistaken. Well, it looks like his stuff. Yep, Gary Gianni. But yeah, this is a great book. I love Solomon Kane. Is the movie worth seeing? Does anybody said?
Oh yeah,
do I need to watch all of it?
Yeah, you should check it out sometime. I'm pretty sure I've seen it. It doesn't come back to me, but I think it was pretty good.
Yeah. Kane is public domain for real?
Oh wow!
Really? I didn't know. Huh? That's interesting. That's interesting.
Well, that would be great to go off on that. There's always a built-in kind of audience for that stuff.
God, imagine if like Mike Mignola did something with him.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know you're not a Mignola fan, but
oh yeah. Mignola did one of my favorite sword and sorcery adaptations. His Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser is so to me so perfect. I needed to check my because I can't believe I would part with that book, but maybe I have. I need to look for that, and if I don't have it, I need to buy it again because that was always one of my favorites.
That particular book or those stories? Who's that by? That's Fritz Leiber, isn't it?
Yeah, Fritz Leiber, however you pronounce that.
Have you read the books? Or just
oh yeah. Well, that's what makes me appreciate them so much is realizing how hard it would be to give you that Fritz Leiber feeling for these characters in a comic book. You'd have to do something like what Mignola did, but he was also being inked by, I believe, was he being inked by Williamson on that? I don't know, but it was really a good interpretation of Mignola. That he wouldn't have necessarily done it, but it was some sort of pipeline sort of thing that he had to deal with to get it done back then.
Yeah, pass it off to somebody else.
Yeah.
Who put that out? Was that a DC thing?
I think it was Dark Horse. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. Speaking of DC, man, how about DC Comics? Jeez. You've heard the news, haven't you, Ellis?
About what? Oh, yeah. Let's talk about DC Comics.
DC Comics, the massive layoffs, man. Not good.
That seems so weird that they can't keep it together.
God,
I guess it doesn't necessarily make money. I guess it's a thing where you can look at your bottom line and say, what is this comic book thing that doesn't make us any money? And someone that's never read a comic book says, we can cut this.
Why are we making these?
Yeah, exactly. You got to come up with a reason for why you're doing something. If you're paying for it, yeah.
Well, what I don't get, and I've never understood it. It used to be there were, like, okay, when I was a kid back in the 80s, you always heard like, oh, if a book doesn't sell, 100,000 copies or whatever, they would consider it a failure and they'd cancel it. I don't know what the numbers were. I think it changed.
Yeah, it kind of self-regulated.
That doesn't seem to be the case anymore. They don't have any, as near as I can tell. And it's like they go, well, this will make money in libraries or whatever. And I mean, that's, if your market is libraries, how many are you going to sell? I mean, that's, not every library is going to buy one. How many libraries in the world are there, or in the United States? I mean, every city has one, but I don't know. To me, I don't understand. How
are library sales an actual money maker?
Well, that's what they always talk about, is how some of these books that tank on the direct market make up their money in libraries. And if you go like to the local library, to their graphic novel section, you will see them filled with books that traditional comic people don't buy. For example, like Squirrel Girl.
Mm-hmm.
And and I mean that's cool, but here's the thing. This is my theory about comics.
I think one of our guests does Squirrel Girl. I'm kidding.
What?
No,
Get
I'm
out
kidding.
of here.
I'm kidding.
Well,
it's always possible.
Well, okay. It's not my cup of tea, but it's, But no. Here's my thing. So I think where the industry went bad, let's put it this way, was they started this idea of, we're going to write for the trade. They should never have written for the trade.
Yeah.
Because what it did is encourage people not to buy monthly comics. And everyone always complains about monthly comics, but monthly comics are the lifeblood of the industry. That's what keeps the industry going. I'm sorry, the business. I'm not going to refer to comics as an industry. It's not an industry. It's a business. They don't make stuff. It's a business. Anyway, that's my thing. But so like when I was a kid, I would have never, ever not said like, I'm not going to buy the next 12 issues of X-Men. I'll just get the trade, because I wanted to read it as it came out. And I would read it and I would reread that issue until the next one came out. And then I would, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so what they've done is, by writing for the trade, they have told people, hey, you know what? You don't need to buy this. You just buy it as a trade. If they would make each issue, if they would knock that off, make each issue a solid story, and get people to where they were excited about the next month's issue, people wouldn't want to wait for the trade. But instead, I think I think they've done the opposite of that. And so people just go, I just get it to trade. And then what's happened is now people are like, why would I buy it at a comic shop? I can get it off Amazon cheaper,
Yeah.
or get it off the line. And
yeah, the comic book stores have been killed by every development in the past, for 10 years or whatever longer.
I just think that they need to forget about writing for the trade. I mean, if your story arcs are okay, but every issue needs to be a barn burner.
Yeah.
And they don't, and I think, I don't know. I don't think they make, I look at new comics and they just look boring as all get out.
Did you see this joke that they did here? It says, I heard Ellis, I heard DC is hiring Ellis as the new editor in chief. And, Grahovac says, Warren? He says, no, Goodson. So that's a pretty good joke. And then, I don't know if he's being serious, General Grudge says, I did Squirrel Girl, but in my defense, I had too much to drink. So we don't know for sure he did Squirrel Girl.
Is she underage? No, she's in college, isn't she? And don't get me wrong, I don't have a problem.
I didn't even interpret it that way. You're way ahead of me.
Oh yeah, I knew immediately when he talked about it was. The problem is, my wife and I have been working at home, and so she leaves the TV on in her office, and it's behind me, but I can hear it, and it's on whatever channel, and they play court TV all day. Different, and one of them is divorce court.
Oh my God!
I know, it's like, how can you watch this? But at least once there's like a hedge slapper. Okay, so here's an example of what I think they should do. So I bought this the other day. The local comic shop had a sidewalk sale, and I picked this up. This was $7. Cover price is $30, and it is literally like Fantastic Four 164 through 176.
Yeah,
and it's written by Roy Thomas, illustrated by George Perez, Rich Buckler, and John Buscema. Now, I have the Perez portion of this. I bought one of those Perez Visionaries. But, if you look at this, there's a lot of stuff going on in this. I don't know if you can see this. Yeah, you can see it. To me, this is exciting comics. And I've been reading this. I'm about halfway through this thing. And I read some of this as a kid. This was about the time I started reading comics. Doesn't say what year it is. But it's not, there's no story arc. It's just,
Yeah,
and there's
one
great John Buscema art. Yeah, it's just one. But I mean, okay, like here's a story arc with the High Evolutionary, and then he fights Galactus and stuff. But it's literally just whatever that is, 11 issues of the comic, or no, it's 12 issues, isn't it? 12 issues of the comic, and it's a great thing. And this is how I think they should be doing. I mean, to me, this is the Bronze Age stuff is where it's at. This is
that's your sweet spot.
That's what I want to do. That is my sweet spot, because and when I look to emulate in comics or whatever, what do you want to draw like or whatever, I look at that Bronze Age stuff, because if you look, it all has backgrounds, it all has figures, it all has solid storytelling. There's a lot going on every page. I like that stuff. I think if they would do more stuff like that, instead of, I'm looking for a modern comic. Okay, hang on. I'm going to grab a modern comic. Hang on.
Okay.
I'll be back in a second. Hang on.
All right. I'm playing around with Procreate instead of something I know how to do. I don't even know how to start over and name this a new name in Procreate. It's just something that's beyond me, how to go in and manage the files. So I'm just adding a new layer and making a new drawing. What do you got there?
So this is a modern comic. Now this is from a couple of years ago. It's Avengers No Surrender. This is the hardcover edition, and $50. I know I didn't pay $50. I'd be shocked if I paid half that for this. I bought it because I like Pepe Larraza and Carlos Medina's work.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to hate on the comic work too, but just look how much. I mean, this is look how much less stuff is going on. It's to me, it's not near. I mean, the coloring is nice. Don't get me wrong, but it's a lot of like cropped close. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, what is this? There's a lot of that. A lot of not just. I don't know. Uh, the art's nice,
yeah. Well,
but I
yeah,
just don't
no,
like
no,
how
they're
the story's
very,
told.
very proficient people doing things that are probably mainly image comic inspired. During that era when all that stuff was coming
Yeah,
out, right? I don't
yeah,
know.
something like that. I don't know. I don't know what. I mean, and I like the art. That's why I bought the book because God, the story's terrible. But you know, the
Oh,
I don't know. I'll I'll take. So this is 12 issues, and the Fantastic Four thing is 12 issues. I guarantee you, I will enjoy the Fantastic Four thing a lot better than this Avengers thing. Even though the art is pretty and the coloring is better, I'll even go so far as to say the coloring. Even though I think they over render stuff.
General Grudge says I can recommend the current Thor. It's pretty epic and the art is excellent. It's as close to modern Marvel as we'll get. And I don't know. I don't know. Does guys like Simonson still work for Marvel? I don't know.
Simon. I don't think he's doing work for Marvel, but he's done several things lately. I believe. I don't know what though.
Because that guy is, whatever he does, it's always good.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Yeah, well, I would argue probably the best
Interesting.
comics that I'm looking at now are the stuff that John Byrne is putting on his website for free.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I mean, but I'm partial to John Byrne. Obviously, I've talked about that at nauseum on here.
Yeah.
You know, but
It's a fascinating topic.
yes. So DC Comic is losing a bunch of people, including it sounds like the guy that is maybe the guy that put Vertigo out of business or was in charge of Vertigo when they went out of business, and then he did the Black Label that also failed apparently.
Well, it sounded like a lot of their modern approach notions were being also thrown out with them, which you can't go by any of that. Nobody's rendering a judgment on that. They're just rendering a judgment on their bottom line.
Oh
They're
yeah, that's well, yeah, and the thing I've heard is a lot of people have said, well, this is that anything to do with sales, and I'm like, well, if they were making money, they probably wouldn't have got, what I'm saying. I mean, you don't shut down something that's profitable, but I mean, maybe they weren't profitable enough. I don't know. I still say if you look at a modern comic, and you look at their sales, you can if you figure we've done this before on this show. If you figure how much a penciler, an inker, a colorist, a writer, a letterer gets paid, and multiple, per page, add all that together, then multiply it times the page. If the comic isn't selling a certain amount, they're not making money. And
yeah,
so at some point you can't. It's unsustainable to, it's the comic business, not the comic charity. You know,
yeah.
despite what some people think. You know, even though they do seem to be like a nonprofit.
that was fun. I did a little drawing
Yeah.
I kind of liked. Fly Fox Pro asked me where
Oh,
my current projects are at. I'm still just kind of like stuck. I've been a month getting 3 pages done, and I haven't. I've just been putting type in a PSD, and I've got a whole bunch of stuff in layers, and I'm just not doing it. I'll sit down soon and get all that done so I can get a comic book out that everybody can see. I don't really care for John Byrne. The Wonder Woman,
yeah, I
Woman
saw
book
that.
has some
We're gonna have to
wonky,
block somebody from the. We're gonna have to
wonky
block
ana-
somebody. No, that
wonky anatomy.
he can do that some. I mean, Wonder was not my favorite thing he's done.
Yeah, you can
He's done
point
a
at
couple things where I'm like,
something wonky in every comic book. Every panel
sure.
is not going to be a winner. You can count on that in a comic book.
Well, I think his. Okay, so the other day I bought the John Byrne Marvel Classics Omnibus, which is a bunch of his. It's basically his Champions, his Captain America, his Avengers, and a bunch of just odds and ends that he's done that are not collected in other omnibuses. So there's no Alpha Flight, there's no X-Men, there's no Fantastic Four, but it's just a bunch of stuff that he's done, and it's over a time frame from like first breaking in. In fact, there's some work there. His first Marvel work is in this book. He did a real cool illustration of Jack Kirby for the Foom magazine that was inked by Joe Sennett. But there's a wide range because it's from there all the way up till when he did Wolverine, which I think was in the 90s, maybe late 80s. So you can kind of see his progression, and some of his stuff I don't care for. Sometimes he gets inkers that I don't like. I didn't hate Wonder Woman, but there was something about it that didn't grab me. I would agree with that. I don't know if I'd say it with the anatomy. I'm not going to agree or disagree with the anatomy thing. I have to look at it. It's been a while since I've looked at it. Famously he did a commission for somebody, and he drew the Invisible Woman, and he drew her with like 4 fingers on one hand, or a thumb and 3 fingers. I mean, it's very obvious too. It's not like, well, it's tucked back. I mean, just it's like, well,
He was going for simple shapes, big shapes.
something big shapes with no fingers.
Yeah.
Eric Larson takes him apart pretty regularly.
Really?
Like, oh yeah.
Well, I think that's what Fly Fox Pro was saying. They said the image guys don't like him.
I think Rob Liefeld likes him, but I don't. But Eric Larson definitely does not like him. I not like his kind of personal. I don't know if it's a personal thing, but he does not. He has taken his art apart, and he comments on how he makes people smile too big, and he complains about his compositions.
Well, that's one of those things where every cartoonist has got his own little symbols, and he does them as well as he does them.
It's odd to me that Eric Larson's a guy complaining about another artist, because Eric Larson's pretty. I mean, he
needs forgiveness himself.
Well, I mean, I was reading the Savage Dragon Omnibus the other day.
Oh, that guy. Okay, yeah,
I mean, he's. But I mean, it's comics. It's not. It's not medical illustrations.
Yeah, exactly.
You go for broad strokes and appeal and that sort of thing, and you try and do something that people would like.
Someone asked me
I would say both of them are successful.
Someone asked at the very start of all these threads, had I seen Doug's teaser for his new Earthworm Jim, and I have not seen the whole big teaser yet. So I need to check that out. And I've got to. I've already had my sticker shock moment. I always do this with these Doug books. Is I'll say, oh yeah, I'll pay $25, and then I realize as I'm checking out, it's also $15 shipping. And it's like, oh, wait a second,
Ouch.
and it's like, okay, I'll be back to this, so maybe not today, but obviously, eventually, I buy Doug's book. But I always think, yeah, of course I'll have that for $25. And then it's like, no,
Yeah.
you're going to pay 40 for that comic book, and that
Well,
also you got to get that out of your head. It's just $40 for a comic
but
book. Okay, go ahead.
what was that one thing you had of his that was huge and leather bound and looked like
Well, I had
something
I've
pretty
had a
impressive?
couple of his big project books. I've got his sketchbook, which is great stuff. And I've got both the Bigfoot Bill and the Earthworm Jim. So yeah, I've got a couple of his big projects.
I
I wonder where
I
Doug
haven't.
is at as far as the status of someone like Image being, all excited about ever getting behind another one of his projects. He's had so many politically
Oh, you mean if
correct,
Image
correct
would?
ever want to come
Uh,
toward him again and say, "Hey, let's do it again." I don't
well,
know.
the funny thing is, I suspect, I don't know, but I suspect they still are fans of his, but I also
Oh,
suspect they would face so much backlash. I mean, it's just like
yes.
the,
Well, that's how political correctness works. You can have
yeah,
friends, but how fearless are your friends? How many times will they deny you before the cock crows? Basically that sort of
oh,
thing.
Ellis quoting the Bible.
Yeah, that's right. I know that
Yeah,
story. Jumping up,
good deal, man.
jumping up one moment and cutting somebody's ear off, and the next moment,
Yeah, I'll die with
um,
you. And
yes, it's like,
well, nope, I don't know it, not me.
yeah,
Uh, well, that's the thing is, and that's the, and here's the depressing thing about that aspect of the comic industry. How many, we talked about DC Comics just having struggling. I mean, and people argue with me, oh no, comics are great. Bull. If comics were great, you would know it, but they struggle.
here's the origin of the Grudge, according to General Grudge, so he would know. John Byrne called out the Image guys' inability to draw when they were
Yeah, oh
huge.
yeah,
They really took it personal.
yep, yep.
And
Yeah, I think Rob Liefeld has not taken it personal because he did a podcast. He talked about him. I think Rob Liefeld takes that stuff in stride, but he's probably of all of them, he's the weakest artist, so he probably has a little bit more humility about it or whatever.
well,
But
we call him the
so
weakest, and yeah, he's the guy drawing action figures, and
oh yeah,
and probably
yeah, he's
the best adapted to comics, really, in a way.
yeah. Oh, he's tearing it up on Snake Eyes. I love Rob Liefeld. Always have. Everybody complains about him back in the day, but I remember when he was doing New Mutants. That's about the time I got back into comics, and I was reading them, and there would be a fill-in person, and it'd be like, "This is terrible. Who is this?"
Yeah.
And it may have been somebody that later on became better than Rob, but at the time they were trying to imitate Rob, and they were doing terrible. So let me finish my thought before I get
Okay, go ahead.
sidetracked.
Sorry.
You talk about Doug and would Image work with him or whoever work with him, and certainly before some of the PC stuff now, all these people revered him openly.
Yeah.
And to me the depressing thing is, we talk about DC and how they're struggling and all this stuff, and how many great comics, potentially industry changing comics, are we being deprived of because of the fact that there now is like this czar of correct thought
Invisible czar, the invisible czar of it.
Yeah, the invisible czar of. Yeah, I mean, there's not one person, but just the industry has become this. Are there people that are considered toxic because they don't have the right mindset? Well, think about if that existed during Marvel's early days. Would Ditko have been working? Would we be deprived of all of Ditko's stuff? I mean,
yeah, that'd be a shame.
So
that'd be a shame.
Well, and so what's happening now? Is the same thing going on? We just don't know about it. Well, I would argue probably.
I put up a bunch of these guys talking amongst themselves about the comics, and they had a pretty good discussion there. But then Fly Fox Pro at the end of it says, Lee just never grew past a certain point, or I would call him the best. I think obviously Lee has probably got the most. He can do anything. He's probably the best as far as artists go.
Yeah.
But he's the only one. He's the only one that the DC massacre that just occurred. It didn't even touch him. Apparently, he's still in charge of everything. He was in charge of.
I had this theory that he has a contract. When he sold it to him, probably. I think they signed. When everybody seemed shocked that nothing happened to him, and I was like, nothing's happening to him. He's. I guarantee you. Back when that deal went down, he probably took care of himself. Hopefully,
he's obviously a smart guy. Smart guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I question what's going on from the other competition across town. We haven't seen much from Marvel about all this stuff, on the pandemic and everything.
What do you think's going on? Yeah.
Well, they put out those covers that said comics come out on Wednesdays or whatever, which just seemed like a big joke. You know what I'm talking about? They did. Okay. So Marvel's or DC's new distribution deal, their comics come out on Tuesdays. So Marvel released a series of covers that they're like pink and green. I mean, it's just a solid color, and in block lettering it says, "Comics always come out on Wednesdays." I mean, that's the cover. That's the whole cover. And it's like, well, who's going to buy that? Who wants that crap? We want a cover. We don't want your whatever. I mean, to me, that just seemed real juvenile. So I don't know. I feel like they're not responding, or they're not. It seems like they're not. I don't know. I was raised in the old days when, Stan Lee would get up and he'd do the soapbox and he would say, General Grudge says Marvel's digital books were released on Tuesday. Stan Lee was like a guy, and he would do a soapbox, and he'd be like, "Okay, face front, true believers," and even like Joe Quesada would had this rallying cry for the troops or whatever, and kind of build up some enthusiasm. And I'm not seeing that from the current, and you didn't see it from Alonso either. So, it's like, if you're the editor in chief, I think you got to do more than just, have a blog about food or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you've got to be almost a token, a figurehead kind of. You got to be, I mean, okay. So like at my work, I manage a group of artists. It's not a big group. There's 5 of us, so it's not real big, but like, when we all got sent home to work at home because of the virus, they were all in my office, and I said, and I gave them a little speech about how the company's going to get through this, and we got to work smart and not make mistakes, not cost the company money, and that sort of thing. And everyone was very, it fired up the troops, so to speak. And I mean, even today, I was involved in or actually yesterday, I was involved in a three-way conversation between a couple of my artists and myself, and they were talking about, just what was going on in life and this sort of thing, and there was a little bit of, I'm nervous about the little anxiety about stuff. And one of the guys has told me he's had trouble sleep. And so it's just like, come on, just trying to inspire people. And
Hmm.
you don't really see that in comics anymore from either one of them, and I don't know, just to me, it's just disappointing because I honestly expected more from CB because I've known CB for a long time. Um, because I've known him from portfolio reviews, and
Well,
I thought,
Yeah, go ahead.
what do I?
I
Well,
saw
I thought he would do a better job.
Yeah, I saw someone took a dig at him because he decided, one of his rare posts, he decided to help somebody sell his book on crowd-funded comics. And
Oh,
so
really?
so all these
Oh
people
my gosh!
that make their, or been lately making their living outside the CB Cebulski world, uh, this
Yeah.
John Malin jumped on it and says, "Hey," I forget what he said, but it was funny, that he would, you know, uh, point out to CB. It's like, yeah, I'll be spending money on that, basically. That's not what he said. It was
Yeah,
much more clever than that. It was, I'm running the
that's
idea
pretty
that he
funny.
said anything
Okay,
clever.
fly. Okay, we have like a revolt because uh, who was it? General Grudge didn't like Byrne, and now Fro doesn't like Marvel. I don't know. That's okay. Um, yeah, that's okay. No big deal.
Well, very, very little ever really lights my fire. And fairly often it'll be something that someone else won't get. For instance, me and Scott. Scott doesn't get a guy that's big in this comics gate. Uh, central to him is Narwhal. Narwhal is, to me, a very talented guy, but Scott, it doesn't turn him on. It's not, it's obviously not
Nope.
John.
Nope.
It's obviously not John Byrne. But I really dig what Narwhal gets up to. And
Oh, I mean, I'm sure he's a nice guy. Well, I've seen him on different YouTube
yeah,
videos.
yeah,
I mean,
he does his own videos.
nothing personal, nothing
Yeah,
personal. Just ain't
no.
my
It's
my
just
cup
not
of tea.
personal. It's not personal to not like
No.
a certain kind of art. I don't like. I'm not. Like I say, I'd rather have a Narwhal book than a John Byrne book, and see that is probably
Well, you're
beyond your
you're not allowed on my podcast either.
ability to absorb it. Yeah, yeah. But
Well,
but I like stuff like that where a guy uh, is
you should
more
look.
into and he's got a really solid notion about what he is stylistically. If everything he
Oh
does
yeah.
has got, it's following this great set of rules. It's like we mentioned Hairgay last week. That guy is so solid. That stuff.
Oh, it wasn't General Grudge. Who said they? Oh, Fly Fox. Wait, who said?
What?
No. Oh, now General Grudge is saying it wasn't him. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah, Fly
so
Fox Fro, don't cancel me.
no, no, no.
Eat my words.
General.
Burns my favorite comic creator. Eat my words.
He's walking it back.
Yeah.
Hang on. No, there's a guy. I'm trying to think of the guy's name. There's an Asian or a Japanese animator, and I think he worked. Hang on just a second. I'm gonna go grab a book. Okay. This
Okay.
one's in the hall. Hang on. Hang on. I
All
want you
right.
to see this.
This one's all the way in the hall. We may never see Scott again. So, but anyway, hey, everybody that showed up, we're going over an hour already, so we'll be gone shortly. And thanks for coming in and filling up the chat again. It makes it interesting to me. Dig it. Scott will be back with an interesting book in any moment. And I'm having a good time with Procreate, but I am going to go on a deep dive on learning it here pretty soon.
Do what? You're going to Procreate?
Procreate. That's the program.
What? Oh, okay. Sorry. Misunderstood what you were saying. Okay, can you see this? Let me make sure my thing is... Okay, so this is a book I got, and this guy's name is Koji Morimoto, and he was an animator. He's a Japanese animator. And I think that Narwhal guy's stuff looks like he is. Let me find something. See like this.
Well, Narwhal is a bit of an animator. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, to me, I have a movie called, I think it's called Mind Game, and he animated it, or directed it, or created it, or whatever. But this just kind of reminds me of that guy's stuff. And I mean, I like this stuff. But
well, you bought the book.
I bought the book. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I bought it at San Diego. This was kind of expensive.
Looks nice, though.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That does look good.
Yeah. This is what that guy reminds me of, that Narwhal guy.
And I know his name, but I can't think of it. It's a real short kind of something bird. I can't think of it.
Bird or Berg?
Bird. He wants to be called Narwhal. We'll call him Narwhal. Yeah.
That's probably smart. I'm thinking about using a pseudonym for my comic.
Hey, there was some girl on Twitter was saying she was thinking about having a male pseudonym, and I wrote back to her. I said I know a guy.
Are you nuts?
I didn't use your name. I said I know a guy that was honestly thinking about using a female pseudonym. And
no, not female.
Oh,
what'd she say?
Oh, she was baffled, but she gave me an LOL and all that.
No. I wouldn't use a female pseudonym. I would use a very generic one that you can't tell has, like,
you could read into
it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's actually the name of it's the. And what's funny is I have an email under that account. I have a blog under that name, and I've used it for. In fact, I'll tell you a story. A while back, I found out through the grapevine that there was somebody that was putting together an anthology, and they were looking for artists, paid artists. And there was something, Tekken can read. That's pretty good too. That's a good example. But there was a anyway, this anthology. I think it was like, I don't think they said you had to be female, but it was like female centric. And so I used my pseudonym and I sent in some samples and I got no response. And then like 2 years later, out of the blue, I get an email wanting me to my pseudonym email address, wanting me to support the girl that's putting together, because she was putting together a GoFundMe so she could move. She didn't live in America, but she wanted to move out of the country she was in because it was no longer safe for her. And I get this out of the blue, and I'm like, what in the world is this? It's like, as you know, it's no longer safe in my country, and so I've got to move, and I want to move to like Germany or whatever, and I need $10,000, and I hope you'll consider supporting me. And so. And so I did a search. I did a search through my email to figure out how she got my email, or to try and figure it out. And I realized it popped up where I had sent something off, and I never got a response. And so I emailed them back, and I said, I'm just curious how you got my email. And she's like, well, I do a lot of anthologies, so it may come out of that. And I emailed back and said, well, I never worked on your anthology, so I can't imagine how we'd know each other.
Yeah, you'd confuse yourself.
Well, yeah, it was like, no, wait a minute. One of the I think Oni did that. Oni had a talent search a while back, and they never responded to me. This is a couple of years ago. They never responded to me, and then all of a sudden, I'm on their spam list. It's like, well, you don't even have the courtesy to email me back, but you're going to call my email for it. I mean, at least email back and tell me we're sorry, we're not. Send me a form letter. Form letter wouldn't have hurt you. It's email. Yeah, and then now you're like, well, we got the new. It's like no. I don't hold a grudge, but I also don't forget.
Sorry. I didn't mean to check out on you there, Scott, but I had to run and get this book. This arrived in the mail a couple of days ago.
What is it?
A friend of mine, Gary Shipman, did this really nice book where you talk about another guy that's on the level with Doug as far as just keeping his nose to the grindstone and cranking out work. This Gary Shipman, he's done this very appealing little character called Titan, who is a mouse that is involved in a secret of NIM kind of activities, going into a research lab, and I still haven't finished it, but it's a very impressive little book, and it was. I'm glad to see him. It must be very gratifying to have this come and arrive and say, "Oh, I'm sending that out to so many people." Yeah, General Grudge says, "Cool, I have that coming too." Gary is amazing. His book is
how do you
cool.
How do you know him, Ellis? Is this somebody you know, or
this is from those drawn in quarters? He always did one of the more creative notions of the drawn and quartered entries, and typically he would do. Everyone would call him lazy, but he would do a Calvin and Hobbes, a Watterson kind of approach to something, which is really probably the higher level talent required to do something with a Watterson kind of appeal. Hey, Scott, we've been at it almost an hour and a half, hour 22.
Oh my gosh.
You ready to quit?
So if we can quit. So if I go to the 45th tomorrow, you don't want to go.
No.
You're 100% out.
Yeah.
Okay. So tomorrow I got to go get my oil changed in Ellis's neighborhood practically. Mm-hmm. And I was going to go draw at the museum, and Ellis doesn't want to go.
Yeah. I've been there how many times now? 2 or 3 anyway.
Yeah, I went the other day.
No, it's a cool place. It's a cool place. I love all that. All those weapons.
In my house.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, we can end it, Ellis.
Okay, hey, everybody, thanks, everybody. And, check the links.
Thanks for showing up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have a good week. Stay safe. Wash your hands.